Hello, Renée. How are you doing today?
Hi, Magic. I am great.
We've seen
Thank
a lot
you.
of
How
interest
are
in
you?
our Beyond the Badge first episodes, Renée. I think people are,
Yeah.
are watching this space and really uh, trying to kind of get from us. I think I've seen like what 2,000 views or something.
It's resonating really, really well. I think part of it too is because you and I are in two different parts of the world, also. We are doing a good job of uh, touching on points that are valid to different types of people that are going through a similar experience, and so, which is interesting, right? It's kind of a sign also of our global economy and yeah, the power of social media. So thank you to all of our
Very
listeners.
good. And I hope our listeners did listen to the previous story about, what to do in the first 2 weeks after
Hmm.
you had this kind of a difficult conversation. And by the way, I just learned that, uh, AWS has announced also the layoffs. So we have
Yeah.
another wave, another company
Yeah.
that is talking about further reduction of the employees.
Hmm.
Obviously, there is a big shift in the world. Again, if you are part of the AWS, if
Yeah.
you if you've been impacted, you have, especially in the US, you have about 2 weeks
Hmm.
to do something about it.
Hmm.
And we did record with Renee an
Yeah.
episode. You will find it in the channel, talking about what to do in those first 2 weeks and how
Hmm.
to maximize this time for yourself, because it's gonna set you up, uh, for faster recovery or a bit of slower recovery, depends on what you do. Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so today we're gonna talk about um, the identity crisis,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
when you and I we were working for the corporation, we obviously, the corporation is typically putting you inside it, right? You become one with a company that you work for, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
extremely creates an extreme connection. Correct.
Yeah. 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 To this day, I still remember, right? Our the big motto of we advance the way people live and work. And I lived by those words. And I really, really, particularly for me, I was part of my responsibility was recruiting small businesses to become technology value added resellers. And everybody loves a story, and a very compelling story, and a very effective way for me to recruit resellers on behalf of the company was really to talk about how they would now become part of advancing the way people live and work through leveraging the technology and the relationship that our brand and the doors that our brand would open for them, because it had such a credible, it still does, it has such a credible reputation, right? So yeah, it can really become, that language can really become very ingrained, and you can kind of get yourself lost in that relationship that you have with your brand.
There are many signs, and I'm gonna maybe go, Renee, and show a couple of kind of situations that I believe
Yeah.
that are happening when you are working for the big corporation.
Hmm.
It is becoming a part of your identity, in
Hmm.
many ways. I think we always used to say we when we meant the
The company.
company and us, right? We
Hmm.
we would talk about, we would refer to the company as we and the company being one
Hmm. Hmm.
in
Hmm.
many settings, and that was
Yeah.
a kind of a natural situation for us.
Yeah, just like when you are talking about your family, right? You talk about us and we, and the company very much became, and interestingly, right, for you and me, having been with the company for so long, I'll tell you, right, I joined the company, I was 21 years old. I had recently gotten married. And I've been with the company through a lot of things, including the birth of my child. So my best friend of 25 years, I met in the company. She's also the godmother of my daughter. And to this day, I still have a lot of very deep, meaningful friendships. I have another really good friend that lives in Texas. I was his boss for 8 years. I hired him right out of college, and I'm still now the relationship evolved to be we're very good friends, but we've had a very I would say that I'm one of the people that he's closest to, and he'll call before anything, both personal or professional. So yeah, you know, it becomes part of you. I
It
had
becomes part of
towels.
you.
You have the tennis shoes. I had those same tennis shoes. I had cereal bowls. I had towels. I had scarves. During COVID, I had masks. I mean,
Do you remember
yeah,
we even had a competition at a certain point in
yeah,
time? Who's gonna
yeah.
wear
Who
more
had more brand? Yeah, yeah, yes.
and it was everything: towels,
Mm,
socks.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there were some clothing for the kids, for the little babies,
They
right?
the onesies for the babies. Yeah.
Yes. So you could get anything,
Mhm.
branded by the company. I used to even go from time to time to the store on campus and see whether
Yeah.
there's anything interesting that I can purchase. I mean,
I had a
bags.
necklace. I had a necklace with a
Uh-huh.
diamond that had the logo of the company in little diamonds. I had earrings. You have like I used to. This happens to be a different shade of green, but I used to get the my nails always with the green that was the color of the company, particularly if I was visiting customers or going to partner events. Um, yeah, I mean it's yeah.
And I'm looking many times through my wardrobe or my
Hmm.
set of pictures from the
Yeah.
past, and there are
Hmm.
so many of them. Luckily, I think the only kind of a positive thing is I even though I worked for one kind of a company, it was three different brands, right? I started
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
Company,
Hmm.
then HP, then HPE.
Uh-huh.
So I still have I did some
Compact
transition.
branded stuff.
I did some transitions, but
Yeah,
but when I think about kind of employees that have been working for one company for 20, 30,
yeah,
30 plus years,
uh-huh,
think about the folks from Microsoft that recently
yeah.
were part of they call it RIF,
Yeah,
RIF.
reduction in
Yes.
workforce, yeah. RIFs, yeah.
Microsoft never changed the name. It was always Microsoft. They kind of
Yeah.
modified the logo over the years, but it
Mhm,
wasn't like completely different. So,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
at least I started as a compact guy. You know.
Yeah. Well, so for me, I started as an HP person, and the
Mhm.
HP logo was usually like a round logo, and sometimes the HP was inside, sometimes it was outside. And I remember changing from the blue circle to the green rectangle when I moved over to HP Enterprise and we got our new brand. That was traumatic. I'm like, how am I gonna like this rectangle? Like, who does a rectangle? Like, I had this whole emotional crisis over the
I remember
brand
this as
change.
well.
Yeah. Yes.
So we need to remember about this, and I have another slide that kind of describes this because the brand became such a big part of us that we were identifying with a brand. It was blended into our personal
Yeah.
conversations, and unfortunately, after the day that I stopped working for HPE, it still kept being part of my
Hmm.
personal conversation. I was still talking about HPE. I was still kind of biting my tongue
Hmm.
when people would ask me, "Hey, how is it going?" I was still kind of
Defend the
subconsciously
company. Yeah.
representing the company. I was
Yeah.
angry when they've done something incorrect, or
Hmm.
I was kind of tracking the corporate decisions, thinking, still whether they are doing a good job or bad job, and
Hmm.
it wasn't the right thing to do, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's interesting for me? My mom worked for HP and then Agilent, which was a spin-off of HP in a different division that used to be called Test and Measurement. And anyway, after 24 years, she was WFR'd and or let go. And my husband was part of HP Agilent. And after 14 years, he was laid off. Then he was hired by HP Computer HP. And then after
Mhm.
7 years, he was laid off. So what's interesting for me, it was a slightly, I had seen what it did to them, right? And I saw the pain, I saw the challenge in finding new work. And that's one of the reasons I actually, and we may get into this a little bit more later, but that's one of the reasons why I went back to school and I got my doctorate and I decided I'm going to get my degree in, my doctorate in business with a focus on leadership and multi generations in the workplace was the foundation of my research because I knew that there was going to be a day, because I had lived it up close, there was going to be a day that either I was going to piss off the wrong person or I was going to get too expensive or simply there was going to be some kind of organizational shift for whatever the reason, right? There was going to come a time where I was going to be handed my walking papers or said thank you, but it's now time to separate. And that's just became commonplace in our industry. So when I had that conversation after the 2 weeks and after really my final period of being able, you get 60 days still after the system to try and find a job. And I just really turned it all off. I didn't want to consult for the company, or coach people that were still in the company. So any coaching client that I took outside of HPE. I didn't want to attend Discover. I didn't want to watch the news. Even though I was still a shareholder, I didn't want to see any of the financial performance. I really, really completely disconnected any news or information related to the company. I just didn't want to go there.
But
Yes.
disconnecting is not easy, especially when
No,
you there for the long
the length
time.
of time.
The longer you're there, the more difficult it is.
Mhm.
Um, I had a slightly different approach. I wasn't. I guess I've seen so many different WFRs on
Mhm.
both sides,
Yeah.
at Compaq, HP, and HPE,
Mhm.
because the company was in a constant
Yeah.
evolution,
Mhm.
a little bit evolution down, I need to say. But always, I was kind of looking for the next step somewhere in the company when there was a big investment going on.
Mhm.
Uh, so I was kind of ready and not ready for the change, constantly for the change.
Right.
I'm not sure that I was completely ready for the change of the colors, if you will. I was ready for a change of the.
And you went through red, blue, and green, the whole
I went
set.
through red. I went through purple and red because I joined Compaq just after the
The merger.
DEC DEC acquisition,
Ah,
Digital
yes.
Equipment Corporation. So
Uh-huh.
there were still uh, kind of a burgundy and red
Mhm.
discussion. Then there was
Mhm.
a blue and red Compaq and HP, and then there
Mhm.
was obviously the green.
Mhm.
But what I want to say is several times in my career, I moved between the different organizations. So I changed from PCs to
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
servers, from servers to finance organization
Mhm.
to pricing. Then like changed a lot around. Okay, so I was ready to
Yeah.
change maybe the organization again, but this time around, the last time exercise wasn't there wasn't an interesting space, investment space to take over.
Mhm.
But still, the longer you stay, the more difficult it's going to be to
Right.
disconnect because your friendships, your routines, your kind of a life is built around the corporate. And
Your
yeah,
social circles become the people that you work with. I mean, these jobs can be very all consuming when you work in a corporate environment. You don't work a 40-hour work week. right? Or I remember learning that in France you could only do like 36 hours, and I was like, "What? What are you talking about? I've never worked 36 hours in my life," right? It's always been like 60 and above or but yeah, so your social and also you traveled a lot. And so your traveling buddies become your work colleagues. And when you
Yeah.
travel to other countries, you try to stay 1 or 2 days extra. So you go sightseeing and you do that with coworkers. So everything really becomes the company.
So what do we do about this? And I think
Mhm.
I prepared a couple of kind of recommendations, Renee. I need to change the view.
Yeah, you need to move our picture somewhere else. Yeah, you go. Mhm.
So I think you need to, what I've done at least is the day I knew I'm no longer going back, which took me a while.
Mhm.
I kind of started with the audit of my environments. You know,
Yeah.
looked around my desk, my
Mhm.
wardrobe, my anything around me, and I wasn't ready to throw everything away,
Mhm.
but I just boxed away a lot of the stuff, and I don't think I can find for the last year and a half maybe, you will not find it in my home um, anything that has a HPE logo anymore,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I wanted to make this kind of a visual prioritize
Yep.
disconnecting visually, so I don't see the logo anymore,
Mhm.
so I can think different. Not that I don't like the company anymore. It's a again, I have loads of friends at HPE,
Right.
fantastic people that I absolutely love, and I still stay connected with.
Mhm.
Just that the brand and the visibility, I needed this kind of a disconnect to stop saying we, to
Mhm.
stop thinking HPE, to stop thinking about what's going on there, and whether there's anything important that is happening.
So this is interesting. I couldn't find it in time for this session, but I'll search with a little bit more care and probably post it on the socials attached to this one. But I took it so far as my wardrobe, my closet, my tops were I specifically would search out the green color of the company, and wherever I went, in terms of any kind of event, customer meeting, anything and everything,
I remember that.
it was the HPE green. Yes, our university events, it was that HPE green. And I probably had 20 to 30. My wardrobe was black and green. That was it everywhere. And then of course we had our magnetic pins with the logo of the company. And I used to have one in every drawer. I also carried it in my briefcase because I would give it out to people, right? So it took me about, I want to say 6 or 7 months. And one day my husband walks into our closet. We had this beautiful walk-in closet that he built for me. And I was standing in the closet looking at something, and he walks into the closet and he says, "Babe, I think it's time you take the green out." And I was like, "Oh my God." So not only was the logo, but I basically took this large uh, bag, like trash bag, basically, and I put it in. I donated the clothes. I didn't throw them out, but I donated it to a women's shelter. Um, but that day was, and I took a picture of before and after, and I sent it to my best friend, who, by the way, she had left HP as a director in operations, went to work for AWS. And she said, I only want to be there for 5 years. And at 5 years, which is when her stocks were vesting, she left. To work for startups. She's actually now since been in startup land and worked at different startups, which is a whole different experience. It's kind of a wild roller coaster of, do they get funding? Do they? It's kind of insane. But anyway, that physical separation with that color, in addition to getting rid of everything that was branded. I have cups, I had plates, I had socks, I had beach towels. I packed it all up and I gifted it.
The same here. Gave it
Mhm,
away,
mhm,
distributed that. no
Mhm.
longer needed, I'm not going back. And
Mhm.
again, nothing to do with like being angry. It's just
Yeah, it wasn't anger
this is
based.
this is
Yeah.
this is just needed for you to kind of it's going to be needed for you, our listeners. It's going to be needed for you to just to help you to mentally disconnect. Without that, you will constantly catch with a kind of in a corner of your eye the
Yeah.
logo, the information, and it's not going to be helpful.
It was
Yeah.
it was an important um step in closing the chapter for me. It's
Hmm.
almost like sometimes you break up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a significant other and you kind of throw away their stuff or you burn everything they ever gave you and every card to kind of just, to kind of do that emotional break. So it wasn't quite as severe as that because I didn't feel like I needed, again, it wasn't anger based. It really served a beautiful, it was a huge part of my life and it served to open so many doors for me. And I am forever grateful, but in that same space to now make room for the new phase of my life and my career, I needed to close that chapter. And that physical act was super important for me in doing that big step for me.
Yes. Once you do the visual disconnect, this kind of a pack away, I think the
Hmm.
next thing is the digital detachment.
Hmm.
And I'm using
Thank you.
your
My LinkedIn
your
profile.
LinkedIn profile
Hmm.
because I remember I was so impressed, Renée. Very quickly, you basically listed, and you guys, if you want to go to Renée's LinkedIn profile and see how it's structured, and because it's really nice, well structured, and and follow her and connect with her, by the way.
Yes,
But
please.
if you don't yet, but what I remember is I went to your profile one day and I saw like there's so many other things that suddenly showed up on
Hmm.
your profile, and they kind of pushed away
Hmm.
the the HPE positions.
Hmm.
So I think it was a very smart move because
Hmm.
suddenly your identity, your digital identity,
Hmm.
was still visible in your in your description or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it was not overwhelming on your profile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I was very fortunate in, again, I think I mentioned this in our previous session or episode. I was very grateful to have built a lot of great connections in the in adjacent industries because remember that technology is a huge ecosystem, and
Yes.
also by working with a lot of these different groups of women in technology, also lots of really cutting edge software companies that you're able to meet at these different conferences. And I was able to very quickly work with these wonderful companies that were building software solutions enablement around building a channel model, co selling, partnering with other groups or alliances. And, you have it with B2SMB. And of course, we had the universities and other things. So it was really, um, I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was fortunate enough to have built great relationships. And I spoke to the owners of these different companies, and I'm like, "Can I, can I actually work with you, but as a consultant, not a permanent person all time, so that I can learn different things and also still stay relevant in technology?" And thankfully, the fact that I had built a great credible career, right? They were like, absolutely, come on board. And it was a very symbiotic relationship. And so that is something that I would encourage everyone to consider.
And I think I need to say that um, looking back, I think that's a very smart move. I haven't done it as quickly as you did, even though a few people proposed to me, like to kind of use the logo uh, in my LinkedIn profile, but I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do
Mhm.
initially, so I didn't want to commit to anything.
Mhm.
But actually, it's not necessarily a kind of a full commitment. The fact that you are
Correct.
becoming a consultant to
Yeah.
someone, right? Or you working as a consultant, as a part, as a fractional, support for
Correct.
someone.
Yes.
But it reflects on many things that you are testing out.
Mhm.
Okay, so if this is still a comprehensive story, I think it makes sense to put out there things that you started to do once you left the company,
Yep.
volunteering,
Mhm.
non-profit stuff, uh, consulting for someone,
Mhm.
supporting someone. It's important to show people that you are not standing still and kind of waiting for something to happen, but you're in this mode of finding a new step in the next chapter. Because I need to say, Renee, that there was not a single day after I left HP that I didn't have a job. Okay,
Mhm.
I had a job immediately. I had so
Yep.
many things to do.
Yeah.
It's just that it wasn't a permanent job with a salary and everything like that. So there's a lot of work. You just need to learn to monetize it, I guess.
And that's super important, because I think, and this is something that I always give people as advice. You know, both of us, even though it was in different currency, we made really healthy salaries. And what
Mhm.
I quickly learned, and I quickly was adapted to, and I actually give credit to my doctoral work as well, for helping me in this area. The way I looked at it is I didn't expect to make one big paycheck from one company, right? I knew that
Mhm.
I had to approach monetization and I needed to approach my salary in a different way because HPE provided a very healthy salary in one
Mhm.
paycheck, and that's not easy for other companies to quickly absorb. They can't necessarily hire someone at that rate, and that's where that fractional work and working with different groups as a consultant, because now the weight of that financial responsibility, right, or exchange isn't on just one company. Now the trick is providing enough value to different companies, right, in a certain amount of hours, because there's only so many hours in the day, that then you can work in different groups and still make equal or more than you did in the one corporate job, right? But it's a different mindset. You have to think about it differently, because if you go about it thinking, I need to make the one paycheck that equals and maintains my lifestyle, that's going to be super difficult.
It's going to be super
Super
difficult.
difficult. Hmm.
Anyway, like going back to the digital detachment,
Hmm.
kind of a work on your external picture. And one of the things that I've done immediately after I stopped working for HP, I stopped referring to it, commenting, posting about
Yeah.
HPE. Before, my channel was full of
Yep.
HPE content,
Yep.
even though I produced it myself. The
Hmm.
moment I stopped working, I immediately started to look for other content to talk about, and there were a lot of people that were willing to give me the content to talk
Right.
about.
Right.
Security companies that were sending me some information about
Right.
things. B2SMB Institute
Hmm.
had a lot of
Hmm.
kind of interesting discussions. So I started to talk about things that interest me, not necessarily were of an interest for a company.
Yeah.
And frankly saying, guys, the viewership uh, significantly increased.
Hmm.
I mean, I thought that my previous life as a YouTuber was good because I was having bigger number of views of the videos than Hewlett Packard Enterprise channel, and I thought
Hmm.
I'm good. But when I started to talk about things that I'm really passionate about, the viewership, we just recently passed 10,000 subscribers, right?
Yes.
Uh, I remember, kind of praying for the first 100 when I was with HP.
Yeah.
Now, I'm getting I think today I got another 100 or 150 new subscribers, on the
Hmm.
channel.
Yeah.
Anyway, stop commenting, posting about your employer, stop
Yep.
referring to it, following the pages. I mean, you can still follow the pages, but I would encourage you to stay silent on this. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Another area that I think is really important is this kind of emotional and social reset, because
Yeah.
um, you and I, we build a lot of friendships,
Mhm.
with a within HP and HPE, and we still maintain this kind of a
Yeah.
connection with people. And what I'm trying to do, and it's not always possible, and and not always the truth, right? But for most of the cases, when I talk to the either current or former HP employees, I try not to talk about HP. I try to talk about anything else
Mhm.
but that, to kind of maintain the friendship and the collaboration and the like personal connection, and completely remove any gossip, any discussions about the my former job, unless people ask me for it. I mean, if people call me specifically, like, I need your advice, and I
Yep.
still want to use your knowledge and your experience to maybe help me with this or that, or what do you think about this or that? Obviously, I'm happy to do that, guys. I'm not pushing back on this. It's just that when we talk about private stuff, we talk about private stuff, and that's another story, right?
Yeah, so this is interesting, right? Because you also have to, I would say, make peace with the fact that a lot of your relationships, the only common ground was the company and was the work. And now you're
Painful realization
yeah,
many
and
times.
now you lose some of those connections and some of those relationships. It just
Yeah.
is, right? And so I think that that's an important point of acceptance, right?
Yes. I mean, literally, you are almost finding out who is your true
Right,
friend the moment you leave.
right.
And I will, I'll continue saying, there are people that stop responding to my emails, or taking
Mhm.
my calls, after, even though we work. I thought that we are working very closely together, but
Yeah,
they obviously had a different opinion.
yeah,
That's okay. It's fine, right? It's just that, don't get frustrated about it. It just
right.
happens to everyone, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
correct, correct. Yeah. Find a
Uh,
new circle of friends, right? Again, technology is fascinating. Something that I actually did, and um, it was very interesting. I I learned a lot about Cisco and about Dell. Spoke and now work with a lot of Cisco and Dell reps in my current role. I taught a class to Cisco channel people. And what's fascinating, when you're in the machine in whatever company you are, they're like the enemy. And so you're kind of, it's a little bit like talking trash about a competing team. But then when now I was outside and I was looking at them as standalone companies and their offerings, their people, actually their channel methodologies, their partner programs. And I was like, gosh darn it, this is not as bad and this is not as different as it always was made out to be. And actually, I've met some really amazing, talented channel individuals, product managers, trainers, technologists. And it was super eye-opening to be like, oh yeah, that they're not the evil, empire. So yeah, it's been it's interesting. And so I've built new social structures and new friends based on the fact that we have technology in common, not a brand per se.
as I said many times, you need to start building a new professional identity. I always, say that you need to get a new laptop, new email address, and a new
Yep.
calendar, maybe a new calendar system. One of the things that I learned the hard way is that I needed a new calendar as opposed to my HP calendar.
Yep.
Sorry for another discussion.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but the moment I've done it, I could just leave all the connections behind and start focusing on on something completely else, on
Mhm.
building a new ecosystem, new connections, and a new path, right? Joining communities, building a new
Mhm.
communities, joining new communities, finding this new step, and then once I found my new step, my new chapter, then kind of keep on reinforcing that.
Yeah, one of the things that I've really enjoyed is I live in the Space Coast in the US, which is right across Kennedy Space Center. And the space industry uses a lot of technology. And I've gotten involved with our local chamber of commerce. And it's been so refreshing. And I spend a lot of time with people that work at SpaceX and Blue Origin and Boeing and Northrop Grumman, um, and we have technology in common. So I don't feel like a fish out of water because we're talking about the same types of advances that advance the way people live and work, but it's done across multiple brands, multiple processes. And then the Chamber of Commerce for me locally has been, and then other chapters that are around, but that's been a really great way to create some of those new communities that you have there in that final bullet. And the added bonus is that they live in my same community. And we're able to interact and go to different conferences and events. And I live close to Orlando that has a lot of technology conferences. Miami is only a train ride away, and that has a lot of technology conferences. So I've been able to really springboard into a new ecosystem that leverages a lot of my old language and knowledge, but in a
Mhm.
totally different way.
Yes. So again, going to the new space, I think what is important is I, I don't want to overdo it. I don't
Hmm.
think that we should be cutting the past completely off. I think that's not the message that we are trying to pass with
Hmm.
them, right? I
Hmm.
think the
Right.
message is there is a legacy, you've done stuff, it did shape you the way you are.
Hmm.
I like many times that people write a thank you note at the end of their employment.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, and maybe I should catch up on this. But if this
Yeah.
video is any interest to anyone, I do appreciate a lot of mentors, teammates, and people that helped me to grow, uh, because I was enabled by HP to travel internationally, to
Hmm.
move by compact by HP,
Yeah.
to move between the different countries. Something, especially I grew up in Poland
Hmm.
back in the day when I couldn't have my own passport. So, kind of a ability to travel and ability to live in another country was something that I wouldn't be able to achieve by myself.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, I think I knew that, but when I left the company, I couldn't rely on this, even from the legal perspective, because there was a clause in my contract that I couldn't do any business with HPE. So
Hmm.
even if I wanted to help someone or work with someone, that wasn't just possible.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, right? I feel like now there's a lot of transferable skills and language and knowledge, and that's how I honor my past. But I've been then able to use that into even when I work with new companies, right? Um, Working in a large company exposes you to so many ecosystems and processes and tools, and it introduces a lot of thinking styles and problem solving styles and critical thinking ways that you can just transfer to so many other facets of your life and to many other jobs. Now I'm working too with a few local government officials, and government is kind of like a big machine, and you need to be
Mhm.
able to understand those levels of complexity in order to navigate things effectively. So honor your past, use those skills, and they will serve you well in the next chapter, whatever that chapter is.
So I have some closing thoughts, and because we are close to kind of a 40, 45. Last time we spoke for more than an hour, but
Yeah.
I don't think we should stretch the patience
No.
of people.
Yes.
Uh, I think it's disconnecting. Is going to be super important because it will help you to understand that you are more than the badge that you carry. It will set you on a new this kind of a new direction,
Hmm.
focusing not on what the badge defined, but what are your skills that you gained? What is your vision?
Hmm.
What is the story behind you as a person? Uh, and I think once you do this, once you disconnect and kind of start thinking about the presence and the future, you will start talking about I, not the we. And for me, it was a big change, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm.
When I observed it in myself, that I no longer referred when people was asking me like, "Hey,
Yeah.
how would you recommend? What do we do?" Okay,
Hmm.
and I would stop saying we at HP did it this and this way,
Yeah.
or when I was at HP, I
Yeah.
started to say like, "Hey, my recommendation, my thinking process is,
Yes.
like I learned something from HP, but I have now new ideas, new things that I learned over the last
Hmm.
2 years.
Hmm.
The frankly saying, like you said, you learned that there are some interesting people at the competition.
Hmm.
I learned that there is parts of the market and parts of the business that I was completely blind to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, if somebody would ask me 2 years ago, I would probably give them a really smart advice, but based on a very narrow-minded set of,
Point of view.
kind
Yeah.
of pieces of information. I think
Hmm.
today I would combine the experience of 25 years with HP, with
Hmm.
Compaq HP and HP, with 2 years of drinking from the fire hose
Yep.
about things that at HP I had no clue about.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like learning in a very concentrated way, right? One of the things that uh, I think it's important to remind people is that as you build your new presence, you should be open to a lot of new learning, consume a lot of new information from different sources so that you can start connecting dots that maybe in the past you didn't. So, for example, at HPE, we were very focused on the hardware side of the business, the actual physical servers or storage, or, and some software related to managing large data sets and things like that. But nothing like real software or like what we've learned now with the MSPs and what's a true service provider. And I remember I spent my first 3 or 4 months with a lot of telco, and the way that the telecommunications industry is very different. It was just extremely eye opening, and I felt like I was a brand new again in many ways, right? The other thing, though, a total sidebar, but I think we covered it a little bit in the last episode, but I want to say this again. Part of your new presence and part of building your new digital brand and everything else, I highly recommend that you set aside um, and hire a really good brand photographer, someone that helps. It's not just about the headshot. You want action shots. You want someone that really can capture your persona. What do you want to come across when someone sees a picture of you? Right? They want to know that you're credible. They want to know that you're confident. What do you want to project, and get that so that you can use it in your digital presence, but also in other material. And I think that also helps you physically and psychologically kind of make a switch. So
But
don't forget to.
Renee, it's funny that you say that. I've done it. Obviously, I've done the new
Yeah,
headshots and some of the pictures, and I've been using them, and I
yeah.
really like them. Here's my observation, which is really interesting. I remember that I was a little bit struggling when I was doing them, back
Mhm.
in the day, almost 2 years ago. Uh, somehow I was struggling a little bit. And a couple of weeks ago, I went to PAX 8
Uh-huh.
to the Beyond in
Yeah.
Denver.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And one of the things that they offered for the participants was there was kind of a little bit, there was a room on the side and there were
Mhm.
super professional photographers doing
Mhm.
headshots.
Yeah.
And I went there and I did a bunch of the headshots and I didn't get them yet. So I'm still
Mhm.
PAX 8. I'm still waiting for my headshots. But I felt like they were much better. And I don't
Yeah.
know if this is the professionalism of the people that were there,
Mhm.
or I think I'm way more relaxed and way more different than I was
Yeah.
2 years ago. It really, my mind is changing,
Mhm.
and in a very positive way. I
Mhm.
did like my action pictures and everything else that
Yeah.
I've done, like say, way more than uh, I did like myself how I felt doing them,
Yeah.
than much better than when I
Mhm.
was doing them just after leaving HP. So maybe another recommendation is after 1 or 2 years,
Do it
do
again.
another round.
Do it again. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Today I and last week for the tea shop, not for the consulting business. Because that's another thing, right? I have the tea shop and then I have the consulting business. And when you look at my headshots and my sessions related to the tea shop, they're very different than when you look at my consulting ones. So yeah, I think play around with it, right? Have fun with it, and don't box yourself into one thing, or don't think you do it once and it's done. You change every day. You change with every experience, and to capture that digitally is kind of important. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So to wrap it up, next week we're gonna see you again. We're gonna
Yeah.
start talking about maybe this kind of a next phase. There is a section, or there's a kind of a space for grief and maybe
Hmm.
some of the challenges that people face when they leave the company. We're going to touch on this as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
uh, but in the meantime, watch the video about the 2 weeks
Right
that
after. Hmm.
right after. uh, Start creating new identity. uh, Follow Renee, follow myself,
Yeah.
subscribe to this channel. And if you have any questions or recommendations, please
Yes.
reach out.
Comment, like, share, reach out to us if you have questions, if you want us to cover something specific, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.
Thank you.